This is Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. Coming up this hour, if you haven't registered your SIM card yet, then be ready to have it blocked in a matter of hours. Our cameras capture the frustration of people.
Last week, baby, and I signed for a baby. Me, the employer may ready so my picture, so my sending message said, picture and try.
I have been here for 3 weeks, but I've been unable to register.
Land and Natural Resources Minister Sermon's ministers from 5 regions where Galamsey is rife as he bemoans the spate of devastation on minelands in the Amansia area of the Ashanti region.
How is it the case that such an operation can be mounted and such level of devastation can happen when there is a district outfit of the Minerals Commission, which should have an inspectorate division, when there's a police command here, when there's a district chief executive.
How's the weather in your area? Rainy, or I suppose? Now, well, brace yourself for more as the Ghana Meteorological Agency predicts it will continue till December or even March next year. School Feeding Secretariat denies claims they are threatening to terminate the contract of caterers for demanding payment of arrears owed to them.
This thing is coming to us as a very big surprise because it's never true. The School Feeding National Secretariat has never and will never threaten any caterers or group of caterers.
If you haven't registered your SIM card yet, then be ready to have it blocked in a matter of hours. Just days ago, the National Identification Authority said it was unable to clear the backlog of unregistered persons before the September 31 deadline for applicants to register their SIM cards. With hours to go, this is Mona Lisa Frimpont's report from Kumasi.
Today is the deadline for the SIM card re-registration, and people have come here in a rush to get their SIM cards registered. Let's go over to find out why they waited to the deadline to get their SIM cards registered.
Last week, baby, and I signed for a baby. Me, the employer may ready so my picture, so my sending message said, picture and try.
I have been here for 3 weeks, but I've been unable to register. They say my registration was not complete. What's every time? I think early part of August, Minister Nebeka, I don't know, one take your advantage. I was away. That is why I am here, as it's the deadline.
It was not deliberate. My registration was not complete. I've been here for several hours.
It will maybe not all bad center, none you share any happy. Then also then one take your advantage. And
I've been sick throughout the month. That is why I am unable to register.
In Accra, Michael Papani actually reports some centers were unable to register because the system was down.
A few more hours to the deadline of September 30 for the SIM card registration exercise. And time is taken definitely for individuals like this who are currently at some of the telecommunication offices to re-register their SIM cards. But some of individuals like this tell me that they've been here for hours waiting for their turn to register their SIM cards. How long have you been here?
Oh, more than 10 hours.
Wow, more than 10 hours?
Young boy. akwadrofo nkwane no mo ha. You register back 1 hour, just 2 hours.
How is that possible?
I don't know. Go and ask them.
Okay, so he tells me that his Ghana card was not ready. That is why he's only coming now, hours to the end of the exercise now. But definitely how say watch our hat too much.
Oh, I have me pa. Some jama jumato. Some until my jama jumato and the other have me. And a minute. Some didi. Now the old day maybe try the old day or have made a medidi. I won't come and tell you, you know, she yetiasa, near Casasa, almost why.
He's been telling me that he's been here for a very long time, obviously. Almost on the watching now, someone to my register. So you talk about 5 on my mapon.
Munganjas and Munchum, Romangas among Eliawaha, and Dumuchum cry and Yajuma, and Domu Munchum. But I'm going to say 1 hour you, Kojo Ghana card in Tamanka. Any I sang Anaka, Utimuka, last year, this year, having on Osaka or any day. And Junior Samuka.
For me, I actually traveled down because of that. I'm not in the country. That is the reason why I came, and I have to make sure that I've got it right before returning back. So I'm waiting right after here. If I get it, I have to return back.
Now, Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram, some Georgian policy analyst Selim Brantier have been speaking to Evans Mensah about the impending SIM registration deadline.
Let me state without equivocation that the minister will have to eat a humble pie. The minister will have to realize that she serves the people of this republic and that the people of this republic are not her subjects. It broke my heart to hear a Ghanaian have to board a plane from wherever he was outside the country to come to Ghana to pay his card because the minister is simply inefficient and incompetent. She's registering SIM cards. She's put a deadline. She knows that there are Ghanaians who are serving their country in missions outside this country. The Ghanaians who are resident outside this country. And she has not given them an opportunity to register their SIM cards or any opportunity, any available portal to register their SIM cards. Because if you use an iOS device, you can't use that self-service app. If you use an Android device, the app itself is unable to handle the traffic. You have a minister who set a deadline without looking at the robustness of the platform she's using to do the registration, which is what you're hearing again from the Vox Pops that you played. The network operators complain of network challenges. Those network challenges are not the telcos networks. It's the third-party application that the minister is insisting is used to do the registration. Again, you have a minister who set a deadline without any recourse to persons living with disability in Ghana who have no fingerprints and so cannot be registered using fingerprints. She says she's going to disconnect their line. I mean, if you have a minister who is so technically bereft of competence to execute a simple policy initiative like a SIM registration, you have this mess. And
can use a state agency or a sector regulator as a linchpin to inflict pain and suffering on the people of Ghana. It is very, very shocking and sad that over the past 1 month that all of this has happened. The only statement we have heard from her officially was that horrible Facebook statement she made, about a month ago, saying that people's negligence, the people are to blame for their own negligence, forgetting that this is a cross-sectoral matter which has a lot of factors beyond her control and beyond her ambit and beyond even what the capacity of her organization, which is the ministry, can do. So to the extent that you are using the regulator as a tool to push whatever agenda you wish to push, it is very, very pathetic, and it's actually a bit, I should use the word, insulting to the average Ghanaian who has had to go through all these inconveniences, all these, hurdles, just to be able to do something that is out of their reach. This is the 21st century. Ghanaians should never take pride in queuing for anything to the extent of queuing to the point where they are frustrated.
Now, the Minister for Land and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu-Jinapor, is shocked at the spate of devastation on minelands in the Amansia area of the Ashanti region. He says the ministry will be launching an investigation into the extent of devastation on mined land. Mr. Jinapo names political heads, security agencies, and the Minerals Commission among officers to seek answers. Per the devastation on the ground, illegal mining in Amensa area has persisted for years without any restrictions. A suit by the military on Monday at Manso Datano resulted in the confiscation of 6 excavators. Land Minister Samuel Jinapo, visiting the area for the first time, expressed shock at the spate of devastation.
It should baffle all of us as citizens, as policy makers, and as stakeholders in this fight, how an operation like this in the heart of the forest and in the faraway areas of our country can go on without notice by the police, the chiefs, the local political leadership, assembly people, the district chief executive, for example, and I should dare say even the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission here. And these are questions that I, as minister, am going to be seeking answers for. How is it the case that such an operation can be mounted and such level of devastation can happen when there is a district outfit of the Minerals Commission, which should have an inspectorate division, when there's a police command here, when there's a district chief executive. Fortunately, from here, I'm heading to Kumasi to meet district chief executives from the mining communities of our country. And so the point we keep making about the fight against illegal mining being a collective one, I think this is a classic evidence of that call, that it will require the concerted effort of all of us. It cannot be the fight for government alone or for ministers alone. It has to be the fight for all of us, citizens and all the actors in the body politic of Ghana. And this is what we have on our hands. But what I can say and the assurance I can give, and yesterday the president himself chaired a meeting on this matter, and extensive discussion took place about it, that we will continue relentlessly, with integrity, to do our best to come to grips with this matter of illegal mining operations in our country. The Ghanaian people should be rest assured, but whatever we have to do to make sure that we get to a satisfactory situation in this country in respect of this canker, we will do so.
Meanwhile, the General Officer Commanding of the Central Command, Brigadier General Joseph Apo, says the intelligence gathered has revealed the eagerness of the miners to return after the exit of the military. He called for sustained effort to deal with the menace.
We did this operation just on Monday, and as you are aware, military operations we will normally plan before we do the operations. We come on reconnaissance, sometimes once, twice, just to confirm locations. And sometimes the Mineral Commission also gives us coordinates and the areas that they think are so bad. So, like, we've done it a couple of times, but it appears it has to be sustained. So from the directions from the Honorable Minister, we did this operation on Monday, and we are still continuing. But the interviews that we've had with citizens and locals within this catchment area tells us that their livelihoods, particularly their water, and their farms have been devastated. So I believe that the war against the environment will be won. And I know with the assurance from the Honorable Minister, we will actually succeed. Of course, but it has to be sustained. And I believe he will ensure that we sustain this operation. Exactly. Thank you.
Now, you'd also recall that the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry made a declaration that no license has been issued for minerals prospecting in any forest reserve across the country. But Love News has uncovered an ongoing degradation of the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve at Samraboy in the Western region. Love News has seen large portions of the reserve, estimated at about 12 football fields, have already been destroyed by the mining link to Akonta Mining Limited. The expose on the current destruction of the Tano Nimre and Apramprama Forest Reserves are part of the documentary by Erastus Asaridonko. Here are excerpts of the destruction for gold.
On August 17th this year, the Minerals Commission in a press release stated that the Lands Minister has not issued any license for minerals prospecting in any forest reserve. The release, signed by Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Martin Aisi, referred to a letter by Akonta Mining Limited dated August 8, 2022, which was an application for an entry permit to enter the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve at Samraboy in the Western region. The release said the application must be processed, quote, subject to the Honorable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Directive on mining in Forest Reserve. But even before the Lands Ministry would indicate publicly its position on the application, our checks indicate active mining in the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve. A visit to the forest revealed large portions of the reserve already mined and degraded. This drone footage taken few days ago shows active mining linked to Akunta Mining Limited under the protection of armed personnel. The forest reserve is being destroyed with impunity even at the time of airing this report.
We are here at this thing, Tontokrom. The hot duties, and there are some policemen and media be here.
Despite Love News' expose on military personnel protecting miners in the Odaho section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve, security personnel are still providing protection for miners who are pillaging the reserve currently, as corroborated by the Mentiahene of Bekwai, Nana Kusi Frimpong Kotobre.
My district is Amansett Central. That is where I have my cocoa farm. In that area, there's a forest called Kobo Forest. The forest is guarded by soldiers as people mine inside the forest. I had a confrontation with the soldiers. They said they are on duty. What kind of duty is being held in the forest? Ministers and people in government are the ones protecting them. Because I can't hire military men, if I could, I would ask them to accompany me to the farm to weed.
Now, my colleague Erastus Asaridonko, who produced that documentary, joins me in the studio with him on his work. Now, Erastus, we are picking some letters from the Akunta mining site, right?
Yes.
What is it?
Today at Samreboy, there was a clash between some section of the youth in the town and a task force for Akunta Mining Limited. What we do understand is that Akunta Mining Limited, where the company was trying to transport some additional mining equipment into the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve. The youth resisted that, and so the task force fired warning shots. 2 people sustained gunshot wounds, and 2 of the vehicles transporting the equipment into the forest have been bent to the ground by the youth. And it follows what we did, the expose on the mining in the reserve. We know that currently forest reserves are red zones. They've been demarcated red zones by government. I was surprised to see the minister in Ashanti region instead of the western region, where there is evidence, which we just shown, that there is mining, active mining in the forest reserve. Whoever is doing it should be stopped.
Okay. So what do you make of the current effort to clamp down on illegal mining?
If I will take anybody serious, let that person go into the forest reserve and stop what is going on right now. Then we'll see that, of course, government is very serious. But you cannot have active mining in a red zone and then we move into areas that have been mined already in Ashanti region. So that's the confusion. I don't really get it.
All right. Thank you very much, Rastos. Now, let's bring in Dr. Ken Ashibe of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, who believes we need a more sustainable strategy to deal with the menace of illegal mining. He joins us through Zoom. Doc, thank you so much for your time. We've been on the tangent of using security forces to go after Galamseyers. Now, the minister himself has descended onto the field to lead the process. What do you make of what's happening?
Well, if you are a student of this particular fight, it's deja vu. You remember Honorable, the first minister of the NPP who started fighting in John, Peter Amewu, somewhere in one of these forests and confronting one of the Minerals Commission staff, and we are back again after how many years? 2017 to 2022. 5 years, and the turbidity of our waters getting worse, the level of destruction, going beyond bounds. And, so I think that we need a very, sustainable strategy. And I think the only challenge we have, I believe the challenge we have is implementation of the things that we've said. Because this minister, when he came, talked about the decentralization of the fight. I am hoping that after today, the district chief executive responsible for that community will be dismissed. He is, as the minister has said, he's either crass incompetent or he's complicit in what is happening. The police commanders in those communities, these excavators that were responsible for this, definitely went through barriers, to get to those places. The intelligence officers who are working in those places, they cannot say they don't know about that. The Minerals Commission staff. And the reason why I think that the district or the municipal commander should be held first responsible is that he is the district's municipal security committee chairperson. He's also the district mining committee chairperson. So how did this miss him? How on earth did these people do this level of degradation without it coming to his attention? And so I would urge the minister, I would urge all the ministers that are being called that we need to decentralize this fight. We need to empower the people. We have all the laws already. We have all the institutions that have to work. The thing that we need to do is to do the things we are supposed to be doing. And it's the reason why I would, back again to what Erastus said. As we speak, in Samraboy today, there was a live clash between Akonta Mining Limited and us. We are the minerals, the steering committee of the Media Coalition. We're going to be writing to the Minerals Commission to ask about the license Akonta Mining has to be able to mine. We'll be writing to the Registrar General, to the Registrar of Companies to find out who are the people behind this company. We'll be writing to the EPA as well to find out whether they have issued any mining permit, environmental permit to this Akonta mine to be in the community that we are in. It is sad, and the aspect, and the reason why I will not mention any name is we've not done our investigation. But there are speculations that there are very connected people involved in this. And the interesting thing about the Samraboy in the Tana Nimri forest is that we are mining in a place where a company has been involved in a timber and logging business for years. They have invested a lot of money. And I'm not surprised that the town folks are now beginning to rise up because that is a source of sustainable livelihood for them. They are employed by these companies. So now you are coming in and you're destroying about, and you see, Rasmus is talking about 12
football pitches. But Doc, so what must change about this fight so in order for us to win?
I think that what must change is that we should do the things that we know we have to do that we're not doing. Execute the things that we've said that we are going to do. Go back into our plans. How is it possible that excavators are still coming into town? And we have said that if there's any excavator going to go into a mining community, we are going to tag those excavators. We are going to geofence those excavators in such a way that those excavators cannot move anywhere. We have said that we have gotten drones. I heard the commander, the military commander talk about consistency. But if we have drones that are flying out in the air, and I hope they are proper drones meant for military activity, not these child play drones that can fly, and have night vision goggles. We should be able to detect these people who are mining in there.
All right. Okay, Doc, I'm very grateful to you for your time this evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Dr. Ken Achibe is with the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Now, Now, the Ghana Meteorological Agency, beginning of this year, predicted a significant probability of slightly longer dry weather period in 2022 farming season. A late to normal onset of rains and mostly normal cessation were also predicted. For Ghanaian farmers, the seasonal rainfall forecast for 2022 raised a red flag that could affect their crops during the rainy season. Is the current rainfall pattern what was predicted? We'll be speaking with a principal meteorologist at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. He joins. Now, there have been increased talk about weather changes in the weather pattern around the world, including Ghana, due to the seemingly erratic rainfall that we've been experiencing is as a result of climate change. But the Ghana Meteo Agency is allaying fears that there might be indeed drastic changes in the weather. Joining us for a conversation on this is Nana Kofi Opoku, principal meteorologist at the Ghana Meteo Agency. Thank you so much for joining us here. How do you describe the seeming erratic rainfall being experienced now? Hello, Nana. Kindly unmute so we can follow what you're telling us.
Very much.
Great.
I want to start with this. What we are experiencing currently, I wouldn't say it's unusual. These patterns has been with us. It's just that for the past about 7-8 years, we have not been experiencing this current type of weather. And that is how come everybody thinks that we are experiencing something unusual. It is an established fact, without any doubt, that the southern part of Ghana has two rainfall regimes, the major season and the minor season. The major season has always started from the south, from as early as February, depending upon the area we are discussing, if it is the forest areas of Ghana, through to about April, when we are discussing the eastern coast of Ghana, up to the end of July. Then usually there is a short break around that time, between late July and August. Then the rain starts again somewhere in September. Now, just as I said, the past 10 years, we have not been seeing the bridge in between the two seasons being that pronounced. And therefore, people think that the rainfall season, we are experiencing something that is highly unusual. I wouldn't call it unusual, but I would call it that this is some of the variabilities that we are experiencing in these current times, where the weather systems is becoming highly variable. And therefore, it makes us just living by the climatology not a smart way to go, but to look at the climatology and also to follow the different variations or changes that is going on with our weather patterns.
How is climate change impacting on the Ghanaian weather?
Truly, I will state that in terms of temperature, there is no denying the fact that indeed the climate or the temperature conditions has really shifted. Now, in terms of rainfall, yes, when you do analysis, we don't seem to have significant extreme events occurring in the country. There is a slight shift where you see certain areas, for instance, the forested areas, parts of the eastern coast of the country. There is a slight increase in rainfall patterns. But what we tend to see mostly is a year-to-year variability. Last year, exactly around this time, we had a long drought stretching from all the way July through to, I think, the last week of August or so, where the rains were simply not coming. And it started in September, and it rained and rained until somewhere late October, early November for the coastal areas in Ghana, and up until November for the forested areas in the country. What we are seeing this year is that even though normally there should have been a certain dry spell between July, August this year, we did not experience that. What we experienced was that even within the month of August, we're having precipitations. Even though the amounts were not that heavy, they were not, whereas we would say they were slight rains. But almost every 3 days, 5 days, you find out that there are cloudy conditions and we experience certain levels of precipitation. This is something that for a very long time has not been happening. And therefore, when you see the seasons merging from the major season, merging directly into the minor season, people tend to look at it as something that is novel, something that is completely new that is happening to us. But it has happened in the 60s, in the 50s, 60s, 70s. When you interrogate the data, these were occurrences or things that happened there. From the 80s, there was a shift. And now we are beginning to see, starting this year, we are beginning to see something of that trend.
Okay. Grateful to you for the education you've given us this evening. In other parts of the globe like Pakistan, flooding caused by record monsoon rains and melting glaciers in that country's northern mountain regions have so far claimed the lives of nearly 1,600 people, more than a third of whom are children. An estimated 33 million people have been affected by the floods in Pakistan. In the United States of America, heavy rain, floods, and high winds have hit Florida ahead of Hurricane Ian. Professor Michael Favetta is chief meteorologist of the New York City Marathon, founder, weather prep, and co-founder of the organization Climate Without Borders. He joins us through Zoom for more on the global weather patterns. Prof, thank you for your time. Does the global weather pattern go through changes every decade? Prof, kindly unmute so we can understand what you are telling about. We want to find out whether the global weather pattern go through changes every decade or so.
Yes, these global weather patterns, not only do they have changes, but when they follow the pattern of El Nino or La Nina, we see several years in a row that could have weather patterns of a certain nature. For instance, here across most of the Western Hemisphere, we've seen the impacts of La Nina for the last year or so. And that impacts globally with cooler conditions, for instance, in Ghana. Here in the US, we have seen more land-falling hurricanes as a result of La Nina, as those winds of La Nina tend to steer storms toward land. So while these global weather patterns, to your question, they do persist over several years, they could last longer, but it's all about those differences between La Nina and El Nino.
To what extent can we bring in climate change to have a factor on how the weather changes?
Well, we know that climate change is responsible for certain aspects of our day-to-day weather. Like your Ghana meteorologist just said, there have been hotter periods for many places on the planet. We also know sea level rise and the warming of oceans is an effect of global warming and of climate change. What we don't know yet, the science is still indeterminate of how much that affects the hurricanes that have been forming and these large monsoonal rains, for instance, in Pakistan, because with warmer oceans leads to more evaporation and that leads to stronger storms. That's clear, but to quantify that into a number of how much global warming and climate change is responsible is still undetermined.
But with the hurricanes and all of that do occur in other parts of the world, how much does human factor contribute to that? Or human factor doesn't come into play at all?
Yeah, there's a significant human factor. One part of that, specifically with what happened in Florida, along the Gulf Coast near the cities of Naples and Fort Myers, which were hit very hard, those areas were not very populated 50 or 60 years ago. So there have been a lot more people moving down toward the coast and developing infrastructure that was not necessarily ready for very strong Category 4 hurricanes with very strong winds, such as what occurred with Ian.
Which means that once population grows, then the tendency for hurricanes to occur becomes higher.
Absolutely. Not only does it become higher with the risk of the people that are in the path of a storm, but there's also the risk of, with sea level rise, a lot of those areas will be inundated with seawater. And that's exactly what we saw in Fort Myers, where the Gulf of Mexico came on shore and left about 7 feet of seawater. It's more than 2 meters of seawater right on there on the mainland.
How can these be mitigated?
Well, we have various protocols in place. For instance, there's the Paris Agreement, the international body that came together and is hoping to limit the warming of the Earth by reducing greenhouse gases. These international commitments need to be fulfilled. And while it's good to talk about it on paper, we had the UN General Assembly here last week in New York, and there was an Earth Climate Summit. All of these initiatives are good, but they have to be put into place in order for these mitigation issues to actually work out.
Thank you so much for the education. Next time we'll have you so we can talk more about global weather issues. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Fafeta there.
Thank you.
Joining us all the way from the United States of America. Still to come, School Feeding Secretariat denies claims they are threatening to terminate the contract of caterers for demanding payment of arrears owed them.
This thing is coming to us as a very big surprise because it's never true. The School Feeding National Secretariat has never and will never threaten any caterers or group of caterers.
Welcome back from the break. Now, the National School Feeding Secretariat claims they are threatening to terminate contract of caterers for demanding payment of arrears owed them are untrue. Some caterers who spoke to state-owned Ghana News Agency say they have been warned not to speak to the media on the debt owed them. Some of the caterers who spoke to Joy News off the record also corroborated the claims. But speaking to Joy News Public Relations Officer of the School Feeding Secretariat, Alpha Seba, said caterers who say they have been threatened must come forward and mention who issued the threat.
To be honest with you, this thing is coming to us as a very big surprise because it's never true. The School Feeding National Secretariat has never and will never threaten any caterers or group of caterers. Well, if any caterer is claiming that she or he has been threatened, I think they can come to us and then show us where or who has threatened them. If it's a threat on their persons, then that means the obvious place to lodge the complaint is the police station.
What about threats of termination of contract, like some of them have said?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We have never threatened any caterer or group of caterers to take their contracts away from them. We have never done that. We are rather even encouraging them to go and cook because we know that we owe them. And so it doesn't make sense, excuse my language, to threaten a caterer when you know that when they leave the job, who is going to do it? Who is going to feed the children? And for us, our major preoccupation is for the children to be fed. And so if the caterers are threatened and they abandon the job, are the children going to be fed? Obviously not. And that's the situation that we don't want. So it doesn't speak well. It's not even true that they have been threatened. We have never threatened any caterer.
Right.
And if they have been threatened, they can come to us and tell us where or who of the School Feeding Secretariat, from the School Feeding Secretariat or any of our officers for the regions are threatening them. Then we can take action on that. But
now, on the subject of the arrears owed them and their demand for an increase in the school feeding grant, Alpha Seba said the Secretariat is mobilizing funds and will effect payment as soon as the Ministry of Finance releases its allocation. Turning agricultural waste into useful material, that's the mission of agricultural technology company DigiX, which is focused on adding value to waste materials generated from the agricultural sector, and has launched a tissue manufacturing company for that effect. Emma Davis has more in the following report.
The management of agricultural waste has become very important because of the negative effects of the inappropriate disposal yield on the environment. The resource recovery from agricultural waste, which converts waste into available resources, can reduce the waste and new resource consumption. In view of this, DGS, an agricultural technology company, has diversified into making tissues.
Today's occasion is specifically the scale-up of our tissue manufacturing line of business from a small prototype to an actual mid-sized business with a strong traction. And it was born from agricultural technology challenge. The goal was to add value to farmers. So we decided that the agricultural waste that they take for granted, we can actually convert to a valuable product, and tissue products was the go-to because it's fast moving, and also we can make something very valuable for these farmers.
Mr. Osei indicated that Ghana's tissue industry is a viable one, hence urged startups that would like to work along the value chain to join.
We are manufacturers, so we are the first part of the supply chain. So distributors come to us, they wholesale like thousands of bags, then they in turn resell to retailers. We do have an internal brand, but also we give all well-off individuals to bring their own brands and color themes, and they're able to create their own tissue companies with us. So we do all the manufacturing, and all they have to worry about is marketing and getting customers for their own products. We're hiring, we want to impact the youth, we want to impact the women, we have programs for them, so we want them to be involved, and we invite them to come visit us right to us, and also visit our social media.
Right, it's high time the education system in Ghana considered restructuring its system to align with 21st century educational demand. This is according to educationist Anis Afar, who chaired the Basto School Ghana's campus second graduation and award ceremony on Wednesday. He also added that Basto School has started a modern day learning trend and it is worth replicating across the country. Jessie Sewabuafo was there and her report is read to you.
The finest American school held its second graduation and award ceremony for the class of 2022 with the theme Empowering Modern Day Learning and Enterprising.
We did this celebration to celebrate them and also to urge them on as they move to the next class. We also gave awards to our students to encourage them, to let them know that we appreciate every effort they are putting into their academic work.
Ms. Rosalind William Mensah, the academic principal of Basto, explained why Basto delightedly prized as the finest American school in Ghana.
Here at Basto, we are not only looking at the academic aspects of the students, we are also looking at all other aspects of their life to be able to stand the test of time wherever you find yourself, to be able to face the challenges of life no matter your age.
Anis Afar urged Ghana to change its education system to a modern-day learning system.
Things have changed so much in the 21st century that we have to begin to look at education a different way. Now, the idea of Basto Ghana is this. We are now getting young people to develop what we call an idea space. In other words, we want to create possibilities for them, where if they to translate that to, like I said, into a product, a service or a solution.
Some teachers, parents and students shared with Joy News how their journey was so far.
Getting an award and drawing in front of everyone is a really great experience for me, and it's a dream. It's my kids anymore when it comes to assignment. They know what to do.
My big boy too, he was the shy type. He wouldn't do anything, but I saw him dance and I was very happy.
Jessie Sewabuafo's report.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We'll take a break. When we come, we'll bring you Showbiz. Welcome back, and it's time for us to bring you Showbiz, and Becky is already here. Hi, Becky.
Hello to you, Grace.
How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm well, especially to know that today is the 58th birthday of the man
Charles Kojo Fosu.
Yeah, Daddy Lumba.
So we celebrate him right here today. Happy birthday to
Daddy Lumba.
the legend.
Charles
Kojo
Fosu.
DL. Daddy Lumba.
Yeah, DL. You know, the other time you said I should not sing, else I was going to sing one of his songs, but because
you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
I
have time. You can go
I'm not
ahead.
going to do it, because when I do it, then later you tell me you don't have to sing. I'm not going to do it. But Daddy Lumba, happy birthday to you, Daddy Lumba. I said Charles Kojo Fosu.
I mean, shall be free.
His song. That
you coming to sing?
Yeah, he has a song say Yamin Shrama. Yamin Shrama, Yamin Shrama, Ganama. I
like that.
Yeah.
Calm down. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about musician, Mr. Easy. He's been talking about a new song, Patek. Patek.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he's been talking about it. He says that this new track reflects...
You know what? See, you know he is sponsoring some students in Ghana to go through tertiary education.
Yeah, yeah.
I think because I'm told along his music career, he came to Ghana to hustle a bit.
Yes.
And he got to know how difficult the system is. So he has set up a scholarship
program
in one of the universities.
Yes.
I didn't want to mention the name.
Wow.
Where he's sponsoring. The last time we did a story here, he was paying school fees for 100 people.
You're well read.
Yes.
Wow.
And the target was to increase it to, I think, 1,000, you know. So anytime I hear anything about Mr. Easy, I become very, very interested.
Well, now you get to hear about what inspired his new song, Patek.
He'll be telling us, I mean, about that, you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't even, now, I've even lost the fact that he's a musician. I see him more of a businessman.
And you do know his girlfriend?
Yeah, I know. That's the billionaire's daughter. I've forgotten the billionaire's name. But I know his girlfriend is the daughter of a Nigerian billionaire.
Yeah, Temi.
And Temi, yes.
Yeah.
But the father's name is what? Adi.
I can't help you.
Is that Adetola also?
Yeah, Adetola. Adetola.
Otedola.
Otedola. Yeah. You know, but we have to be rich.
The boy himself is rich now, and the daughter too is rich because she's also into the fashion industry. Yeah, okay.
So, are we ready to? Yeah, you think that we're ready to take Mr. Easy?
We're ready now.
Great. Let's go for Mr. Easy.
Yeah, I never saw myself, like when I see people, you know, posting or people buying, I say, hey, Charlie, these people, yeah. You know, but I've suddenly found myself owning like a Patek watch.
How many do you have?
No, I just have one.
Okay.
I just found myself owning a Patek watch, and I was like, and then I remember, or somebody reminded me and said, it was you that said you would never ever own a Patek watch. Right now, what the watch they do for your hand? I say, oh. And so I went to South Africa to shoot a video that will be on my next album with Soweto Gospel Choir. Okay. And I just went to the studio to actually go finish up a song that is on the album. And I was supposed to do a remix for one very big Amapiano song. So I just sent it to Joey. Joey's like, we for make this song our song. And then we end up doing the song together. DJ Tariko makes the beat for the record. And it ended up being the next song I dropped, which I just dropped Friday. And it's called Patek. And I think it gives the energy of where I was at the time where I made it. Because everything I'm saying there is real. When I say any money where I get at the flex, it's no cap. At the shop, at the chop, you the vex. At the shop, Patek, because I just got a Patek. She see fly boy in a jet, because I've been flying jets. My baby, my pet. I can't say the other part. See back, see the yash, free pass, maybe that. She go wine and well when she see the cash. So yeah, it's a general feel good song, and I'm excited. I'm excited. Yeah.
Mr. Easy right there. So let's move away from Mr. Easy. Let's talk about Coolio. I know that you know the American
Gangsta Paradise
rapper. Yeah, he passed, and tribute has been pouring in since.
Coolio, obviously the #1 song we all jammed to, rapped in full 90s. See You When We Get There was one that I loved. You know, and I actually think that unfortunately today I haven't had enough of that play. We're playing a lot of Gangsta's Paradise for all the right reasons. But if you consider that the man is dead, and then he sang possibly one of the most beautiful songs of farewell, I See You When We Get There is beautiful. I mean, it's ideal. We all see him when we get there, you know. And of course, Gangsta's Paradise is a thing. Won Grammy for it. We used to rap Gangsta's Paradise, you know. I used to rap Gangsta's Paradise like, you know, nobody's business back in the day when I was, you know, doing rap music. So yeah, we're gonna miss him.
So for our Throwback Thursday today, we're putting the spotlight on the song See You When You Get There. It's a song by American rapper Coolio featuring 40 T's. So the song was released in June 1997 as the first single from Coolio's third album, My Soul. The track was also featured on the soundtrack to the 1997 comedy film Nothing to Lose, Released on June 17, 1997, the single peaked at number 12 on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart and number 7 on the Billboard Hot Rap chart. So it is Coolio's last top 40 hit in the US. Always lives on. So the song still here with us.
All right.
Yeah.
And on that note, we wrap up today's edition of Joy News Prime. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. The Joy News Prime business is up next with Beverly Broom. Stay with us.